So today we have a real treat in the studio, none other than John Taylor himself. I'm going to give a quick bio on John and then we'll jump in. So John is a co-founder and managing partner of Grit Marketing, the sales and recruiting organization that trains reps for the pest control industry. Founded in 2020, the company, which has become an exclusive servicing partner to Aptive Environmental, did more than $30 million of top-line revenue in its first year of business and has grown to over 500 sales reps, which is probably more by now, or is it around there right now?
Yeah, we had over 600 last year and hopefully over 1,000 this year.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Prior to founding Grit, John was a VP of sales at Greenix, a leading pest control company in the United States. So with that, welcome to the studio, man.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you. Well, the first thing I usually ask guests, so I mean, knowing you've launched your own company, very entrepreneurial, very sales focused, seems like you've crushed it. What was it about your upbringing, high school days, college days, that kind of ignited this desire to be an entrepreneur or do your own thing?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I grew up in Kaysville, Utah, okay. So it's like an hour north of here. Small town vibes, like everyone, it's pretty big, but I feel like everyone knows everyone. Mm-hmm. I had 10 siblings, so that's probably has factored into me being a fighter. Yeah, because it was boy girl, so we were 11 and 15 years, so jam packed.
Wow.
And then my dad always just like, I don't know if pressured is the right word. We were grounded at 16 if we didn't have a job. Mm. So I started working at Lagoon at 14.
Got it.
I was on the rides. I was locked in.
Oh, yeah.
But then I started doing, I did mowing routes. And then in high school, a buddy of mine, and I, we started J&J Salty Guys.
Okay.
Which was I wish actually somebody would come knock my door and sell me this. So if you're in this, knock my door. You have another customer. We would do saltwater softener delivery and installation, like the bags, which are like way annoying. And I always
super heavy.
Yeah. I always forget to do it.
Yeah.
So we had a route. We'd go to, we had like 100+ people we'd go to every couple months. And did that. I mowed lawns. So I did those two things. So ever since high school, like knocking doors and, wanting to, I've always liked the idea of controlling my income. Mm-hmm. I worked as a candy girl at Kaysville Theater.
Okay.
And I felt like I would work like way harder or do things better, but get paid the same. Mm-hmm. And so ever since really I started doing things like that, I was like, look, I can control my income. And so I always liked the idea of that. I went on a mission after high school, an LDS mission. I served in Tahiti.
Okay,
cool. Which was awesome. My first area was Bora Bora.
Wow.
So that was great.
Except you can't swim, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, no. Our mission president let us do it once, which was chill.
That's good.
But after my mission, I got home. My oldest brother had sold before and had made great money. And so I was like, I want to do door-to-door sales. I got back. My buddies were doing alarms. I got home on a Saturday night. I was at a security company on 2 days later with a lot of people And then I ended up going out that summer. I sold for Vivint. Sold 9 alarms in my first 6 days and was like, I can do this. Yeah, this. I really like this. I enjoy it. I had no training, paper contracts. This was 2015.
Okay.
So depends on who I'm talking to. If that's like I'm a baby or like I'm like ancient. But no, yeah, just jumped into it and then have been, in the industry ever since. But when you answer your question, I think, that's my upbringing.
Yeah. So were you in school at the time when you got recruited into security?
Okay. Yeah, I came back and started at BYU.
Okay.
I did spring term, so I only did like a month and a half that first summer.
Yeah.
And then went back. I did finance at BYU.
Okay.
And so I did that. The next summer I sold in Utah. I did pest control. And my first summer I made like 18 grand.
Okay.
I thought I was the richest guy in the world.
Sure.
Like I was like, I started dating my now wife at the time. We've been married over 6 years. And I remember being like, look, like we're good.
We're set. 18 grand.
We
baby.
made it. Next summer we got married. So I just sold in Utah selling pest control, and I made like 30 grand.
Okay.
And I was like, where do you want to go on your honeymoon? Like,
What
like,
car
the world is my oyster.
That's funny.
And then, you know, I was still going to do finance. I was going to do a corporate finance job. And then I did that. The next summer, the next year I got into the finance program. I started working for Northwestern Mutual, and I was like, oh, this is like it.
Okay.
This is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a financial advisor. But then somebody at Northwestern Mutual, a guy who used to work at Vivint, was like, hey, dude, if like you're going to do this, like you're going to need cash because like things can be tough at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do one more summer. And I was like, okay, yeah, like one more summer.
Just one more.
Yeah, one more. 2017, first full summer, went out, crushed it. I was out in Indiana and made 160 grand. And I was like,
that's a big jump.
yeah, like, do I?
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm going to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is great. I'm going to ride this for as long as I can. And anyways, that was like a company called Greenix.
So was that you were at security and then you shifted to pest?
Yes. Year 2, I went to pest.
Pest,
I didn't want to sell security in Utah.
Got it.
That was the reason.
Okay.
And so I, believe it or not, Facebook, like summer job ad, I put my name in.
Okay.
John Taylor, here's my number. And a recruiter in Utah hit me up.
Got it.
So it's just funny.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like I want to sell in the summer and I want to be in Utah. And he gave me like $1,000 and I was stoked.
Nice.
You know, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
typical stuff.
I love it, man. And that I want to dive into that a little bit because I was at BYU studying accounting, finance, you know,
Yeah.
and I was there, came back from my mission in 2013 and I graduated in 2017 at BYU. So it sounds like we kind of had some overlap
2018 at BYU.
But I got the same pitch, right? Like take me out to Cafe Rio or get some pizza, talk about how much money I'm going to make 100%. As a sales guy. And I give my brother a hard time too all the time, but what was it? Because for me, I was kind of a similar track. I was like, I'm going to go do finance or investment banking or consulting. And like the summer sales thing was never something that really piqued my interest. But what was it? Kind of dive in between the corporate finance route, summer sales. Was it just the money? Was it the upside potential? Like, why did you bail on the typical route and take more, I guess, what would be perceived as a riskier path? Yeah,
no, it's a great question. I guess two thoughts on that. I grew up, there were really like 3 paths. Like it was business school, medical school, or law school.
Okay.
And like, so I was like, okay, like I want to be an orthodontist. And that's like, which is just such an interesting thing. And I've thought about this a ton. Like it's so interesting as growing up. It's like, cool, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we say a profession, which is like so little now of like who I actually am is
Sure.
like what do I do for work is a much different question. Like who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Like what impact do I want to have?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's like what I thought I wanted to do. But then my brother did finance. I was like, I took biology and I was like, oh, I don't want to be an orthodontist at all. And then I was going to do corporate finance. I did really well. And I was like, at the time I started to realize like, oh, I don't have to choose one of these 3 options. And like, I can create my own path and like try to do the things that I want to do. And like, that will eventually end up like me chasing my hopes and goals and dreams in my early 20s. Like I can take risks and like worst case scenario, it flops and I'm like 23.
Yeah.
And like, I'm in a pretty good spot to like go restart my life at 23.
No big deal. Yeah.
And so that's what it was. That was my thinking at the time. I'm just like, yeah, let's just like go for it. Let's ride this for as long as I can. And you know, the second year at Greenix in 2018, I sold 1,000 accounts. Wow. Then I became VP of sales and we had momentum and I made, you know, double what I did the year before. And then it was like, oh, cool. Like we're growing. We have all these fun pieces. I really enjoy who I work with. And so like, let's go all in on this. And that's why I decided to, at the time, it was really just like let's see, you know, one more summer. And
one more. Yeah.
That's what everyone says. Like one more summer becomes, you know, I'm
a decade
almost 10 years into the industry and probably I'll be in the industry for another 10 years.
Why not?
Yeah.
You're crushing it, man. So
I love it. I love who I work with. I love what we do. I love the impact that the industry and hopefully us and our company has on people. And And you hear it all the time, whether it's Dave Allred, who you had on, or Casey Baugh. I'm a big student of Casey Baugh. I'm sure I'll mention him.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, he's the guy. I'm a student of him. I don't pay him any money, just like anyone. Like I just type in his name and in any podcast. We're friends and stuff, but you can learn anything, and he talks a lot about that. Anyways, long story short, they say now all those guys that are incredibly successful now say that even if they hadn't made any money in door to door, they would go do it for 5 years for free just because of who it's made them.
Sure.
And so that was like, I saw myself growing and developing as a human, and making great money. I'm like, oh, like this is like a really good fit for me.
I love it, man. There's some times where I wish I could go back and kind of shake myself a little bit as that sophomore, junior at BYU in college, because I was such a one-track mind. I immediately was like, no, summer sales, it's not for me. I'm going to go like the safe route, go get the sexy job at the big company and grind it out. And I don't know if you know Braxton Davies.
Yeah,
with Brooks.
super well.
Yeah. So he was on
Braxton
the podcast.
Was our QB1. We won BYU intramurals like 4 years in a row or something like that.
That's great.
Shout out Braxton.
Yeah. So he was on the podcast. We talked about this a little bit, but him and I were actually we were interviewing for the same job at JP Morgan in wealth management, effectively. And we talked about this, and he made the decision similar to what you were saying. You're in your lower 20s, early 20s, and if you're going to take a risk and take a bet on yourself, like that is the best time to do it.
100%.
You probably don't have kids yet, or maybe you have one. You don't have a mortgage. You don't have multiple kids. It's
low risk.
There's just low risk time. And he decided, you know what? Forget the corporate grind. I'm going to go start a pest control company. And I went the other way. I was like, I'm going to go work for JP Morgan for 3-4 years. And full circle, everyone has their path. And here I am now starting my own business. But for anyone listening, I would say, if there's ever an opportune time to start a business or take a risk, it's in college or when you have minimal downside. And so I love that, dude. Well, so you're at Greenix, you're crushing it for a couple of years. So talk us through the transition from Greenix to Grit and kind of what that was all about.
Yeah, so we all grew up at Greenix, 17, 18, 19. We got more and more pieces. Now the owners of RID, they were there. That's who your brother works with, right? Yeah. My good friends who recruited me in the industry, the Hart brothers, they were there. And then we got some pieces from different companies, and that was called the Greenix Grit. Okay. It was a region. There was 4 main regions. Jeremy Lieber was one. He's a stud. And we had 4 groups at Greenix, and I was a VP of sales, and we all worked together. And then 2020 came around right before the summer. COVID hits. We're like, shoot, are we selling this summer? Mm-hmm. We're at the office. We're playing like Rook and day trading because like we have nothing to do. We don't know. Yeah. And everyone at the time was a day trader because anyway, so stupid now looking back, but it was fun. And we got pest control, got a deemed essential business, and it was like, okay, cool. Like our guys are going to go out, our teams are going to go out. But the writing was kind of on the wall with Greenix. They were looking at their business and strategically saying, cool, are we a door-to-door company or are we a pest control company that uses door-to-door? And they decided they were the latter.
Okay.
And so the writing was kind of on the wall of like, they had already limited our growth that year. At the end of the summer, they came to all of us and said, hey, we want to grow way slower. I know you guys had 150 reps or whatever last year. You guys can have like 60 this year. And they said that to all of us. And so all of us were like, no, thank you. We're going to move on. A lot of us had ownership in the company. They ended up selling 4 months later, which was not ideal, but happens.
Yeah.
It's all worked out, and I have lunch with those guys later today. They're all great.
Good.
But anyways, long story short, we left. We started Grit Marketing. I partnered with Ben Egan, Josh Nilsson, and Garth Massey, Garth was another region. Josh and Ben ran the Grit. We formed Grit Marketing, and the thesis was, cool, we're really good at sales and recruiting. There are a lot of pest control companies that are really good at pest control. Can we marry the two and be the growth engine? And when we left, we were like, okay, like, I think there's going to be companies out there. And what we found is there was an overwhelming amount of demand, more than we could place. So 2020, we went and did $47.5 million of service revenue, which, like I said, turns out shakes out to be like $30 million of top line revenue for our company. This last year we went from 47.5 of service contract value to like 68 million.
Wow.
So 30 to like over 40 million is what it'll shake out to be. And then, next year we weren't exclusive to Aptiv last year. We won't be this year, is what it's looking like, but they're our majority partner and that's been great. We work with a couple other companies and, we're excited. We had over 600 reps last year. We hope to have over 1,000 this year. We're building a building, which will be awesome if and when it ever finishes.
So where's that building?
It's in the border of Linden, PG. It's right by the new...
It's a great spot.
It's right by the Holiday.
Yeah.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like shares that parking lot. It'll be 36,000 square feet, basketball court, pickleball court, mini golf through the whole thing.
Wow.
Like it'll be...
Is that like that's grit.
Yeah.
Like that's you guys.
That's our headquarters. We're buying the building.
Wow. That's great, man.
So we're way excited about that. We just partnered with the Jazz. Last night we had 156 people at the Post Malone concert, which was so cool to look around and be like, people are having this awesome time because of what we've all collectively like worked at. And, now our advertising is at the Jazz games, which is like really cool and special to see. Like we're in an NBA stadium and like, and we didn't like ever, you don't know when you start. And by no means like, have we made it? Like we look at Vivint and to us, like, they're super aspirational, what they did, the legacy they have, all the impact that they created. But that was like 20, 25, 30 years. Like We're in year 3. So like we feel good about what we've done. We have like a long, long way to go.
Yeah.
But, we're excited about it all and where we're heading.
That's amazing, dude. So I want to dive into what grit is. I want to get clarity. So you guys are
Salesforce.
You are Salesforce, but you tag with other companies. So like, do you have reps that are? Do you actually have product? Do you have trucks? Do you have inventory?
Not at all.
So you're just the reps.
We put on, if you are Hudson Pest Control, we could contract with you. We'd put on Hudson Pest Control collared shirts and go sell Hudson Pest Control.
So
they pay us, we pay our reps.
Got it.
We're Salesforce. And to us, like we're huge on trade and specialization and we all have a finite amount of resources.
Yeah.
We've decided and feel like we're the best or some of the best at selling and recruiting. And the cultures that surround the two things, and what we stand for. And so we focus on that. We don't want to like own a pest control company. We have ownership in the things that we do, which is good. So, but like, we don't want to deal with the chemicals and the trucks and we just want to focus on what we're best at. And we think that, we'd rather have a smaller piece of the watermelon than the entire grape. So many people I feel like get caught up on like, oh, I want to be the guy. Like I want to get to the top of the mountain and look back and be like, I did this. Like, I don't really care about that at all. Like I want to create as much impact for myself, for my family, and for those that I love and work with. And it really comes down to 2 things, which is earnings and experience. And like, that's all reps people really care about in jobs is like, can I get the earnings that I want to? And can I have the experience that I want to? And so if we can offer that to our people, then like, we don't have to own everything.
Yeah.
As long as we can maximize earnings and experience for everyone we work with, which we think we do, and hopefully we continue to get better at.
Are there other groups like you guys out there, or is it pretty unique?
Vantage Marketing has been doing this for a long, long time. They've always kind of done a hybrid.
Okay.
We're the biggest in terms of what we do now for sure, and are growing. So no, we're like, and everyone, when we first started, was like, oh, it's not going to work. All this stuff. Sure. Which we love. Yeah. And like, we're like,
the haters, dude.
Chip on our shoulder. Let's go. But no, it's been awesome. But yeah, to answer your question, we're Salesforce. We contract with pest control companies. We sell their services. We always say though, right? Like, we're not sales guys. We're not pest control guys. We're business guys that do things that make sense. And right now we're betting on, like we're in pest control. We're doing what we're doing and it's like, it's going great. But like what we will consistently bet on is people. Yeah. And like, you get the right people on the bus, you get the right people in the right seats, like Jim Collins talks about, like you're going to have success if you're doing things for the right reasons and with the right people, like you're going to have success.
I love it, man. And did the pest control companies, is it pretty seamless to work with like an Aptiv or Greenix and slot in with their branding? Because they're kind of then mixing the grit reps with their reps. Is there training overlap? Like, do you guys ever butt heads?
No, yeah, good question.
It's pretty easy.
Our training is our training. So like we don't, like our competitions are our competitions. We don't mix with like the other reps.
Okay.
But it's, I mean, pest control is pest control in the sense of like, you're going to go, you're going to knock, you're going to, sell the service. You understand the service. Everyone's service is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. You maximize, minimize. But no, I mean, it's by no means seamless or perfect.
Yeah.
But like you work through it, and we've had really good partners. Year one, we sold with 13 different companies.
Okay.
To like date a ton of people.
Yeah.
And then from there, we worked with 3 last year. Aptiv being the majority. And this year we'll probably work with, 2 to 4, 3 to 5. Something we're working through that right now.
Got it.
But no, yeah, it's you work, you figure it out. You work through all those.
Yeah. Do you guys plan to branch into solar or security?
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Industries?
We had a team in solar last year, and it went fine. They were in a good situation, like always, right? Like you're probably never gonna be in like I'm probably not someone's like. It's just the whole like abundance. Like you're probably never gonna be in the very, very, very best situation, because there's probably always someone who's doing it a little better. And there's always, the grass is quote unquote always going to be greener somewhere else, right?
Sure.
We had a team in solar last year and it went like fine. I know a ton of guys making a ton of money in solar. I know a ton of guys making and have made a ton of money in security. To me, it's like I said, it's really who you're with, and the situation, right? Like to us, we feel like we can scale what we're doing, and we feel like we really do it really well. So we're not going to try to wear too many hats and be good or average or maybe a little bit above average when we feel like we can do what we're doing right now, like at a elite level.
Yeah. I've seen it's always good to create a niche and specialize.
Yeah.
Like if you can be the expert in that area, it goes a long way. Because a lot of times you want to be, you want to do everything and try to put your arms around everything because it all just looks great and nice and shiny. But it's better oftentimes to just say, I'm going to drill into this area and just be the guy.
Yeah, you see so many companies and people doing that. Mm-hmm. Like, like we're doing this really well, but like he's making so much money doing this. Like, where it's like, no, like at some point you have to be happy with like what you're doing. Yeah. And then like go all in on it. And then like, if this person's making more or less money, like that's great.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. You can't get shiny object syndrome, dude. It's dangerous. Yeah. Because I still, like, I see my buddies in tech or in sales. I'm like, dang, dude, why don't I start a tech company or think about, but it's like, you know what, like, let's stick to the plan. A lot of money's to be made in this area.
For sure.
Be the best at it and kind of build that brand and reputation. Well, dude, you guys have awesome marketing. So your branding, like I was checking out your website last night. I mean, it looks awesome. So who's doing that for you? How have you guys kind of strategized around building out your brand?
Yeah, no, it is amazing. And I can say that because I have absolutely nothing to do with it. I always say I'm the antithesis of creativity. Like that's not my brain at all. Like I'm a finance, like sales, like that's how I think.
Got it.
One of my partners, Josh Nilsson, is like the creative mind. Okay. And then from there, Josh has always been really like innovative, even going back to Greenix with like cool, because in the industry, a lot of people like weren't posting their people, or they'd post and only post like their first name, where Josh kind of flipped it on its head and thought, look, we're going to make our guys feel like celebrities. Nice. And like world-class athletes. And so he would post pictures and full names and really just be like, look, like this is our people. And so that was really innovative at the time. Since then, we've tried to stay innovative, and we now have a VP of marketing, Jake Reedy, who's an absolute stud and I think one of the best creatives. He's a fine artist, one of the best creative minds in Utah. And then we have a director of marketing in Mark Mann, and then we have who's awesome. And then we have a project manager and like 4 designers and a videographer. So it's really like exploded in the last 12 months. Yeah. But yeah, no, those guys are really good. But like I said,
yeah, hire great people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
And outsourcing that too. I think if, even with like this podcast and some of the stuff we're doing in my company, it's like for every minute I spend or hour I spend editing a video or trying to make some look good, it's like that. What could I have been doing where I'm really, strive or where I have the most talent in that area? It's just not the most efficient use of time. So I think it's super smart to hire people, outsource the skill set that you don't have to complement it.
Totally agree. I have 7 categories that all my time, energy, and resources should be in those.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I should hire somebody to do it, or I should, if I can. So I'm totally on that wave.
And 7 categories, is that like 7 highly effective habits? Or
no, it's just my
categories?
number. Yeah. And again, this comes from Casey Ball, Sunday planning.
Okay.
I do it every morning now.
Okay. Let's talk through this, dude, because I would love to. That's one of the questions I had, is just kind of habits and best practices, things that you do.
Yeah, I feel like most of the good ideas, like, are out there. Like, people are really smart. They've been smart for a really long time. Like, I don't need to reinvent any wheels. I can just go be a sponge, copy paste like the best practices. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, and Casey Ball talks about this all the time. He says, if you're uneducated or not developing, growing, learning in 2022, you're irresponsible. Abe Lincoln had to have a library of books. Both of us have hundreds of thousands of books, audiobooks, podcasts in our pocket right now. Like, if people are always like, oh, how did you get friends with this guy? Or like, how do you find good mentors? And Casey says this, right? Like, most of my mentors don't know who I am. I go to Spotify and I type in their name, and then I listen to them, right? Right. So anyways, Casey has this morning routine that I've now implemented, and I've taken some of Ed Millett's, some of his stuff, and then made it kind of my own. So yeah, I wake up every morning at 5:30. I do cold water to the face. I drink 120 milligrams caffeine. Nice. Crystal Light, the pure energy. And then I go upstairs into my space, and I do 15 minutes of stretching with this Norwegian girl on YouTube. She's nice. A vibe. I'll send you a link.
All right.
5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on how much time I have. And then I do Tony Robbins priming, which is what Casey does.
Is that like affirmations?
Yeah, it's 15 minutes. You go through the breathing exercise, and then you relive 3 moments of gratitude. Okay. And they could be from this week, or they could be from childhood or whatever. So I've relived I have 2 sons, Teddy and Taft. I love my boys.
Yeah, of course.
And I've relived their births a bunch of times, or, other things. So you relive moments of gratitude, and then you breathe in energy and breathe it out into yourself, and then into those you love, and then into strangers and things that you're going to, so I like thinking about this podcast today, like breathing in energy, breathing out energy. And then you think about 3 goals or outcomes. And Tony Robbins takes you through all these. Yeah. Like they've already happened. And so you do that, and it's amazing. I do it every morning, or most mornings I try to do it. Last night we went to Post Malone concert, got in it, it's late. So not as good this morning. Yeah. So I do that. From there, I kneel and pray out loud, connect with God. I read scriptures. I then read a book. Oh, sorry. I kneel and pray before any reading. This is Casey Ball's 3 questions. Who am I? What gets me excited? What are my opportunities? So those 3 questions with 20 responses, I write them out every morning.
Really? Okay, so is that like 3 columns? You're like...
I actually I go, who am I? Okay. I am ... underscore or underline it, and then 1. And then it's I am loving. I am kind. I am a world-class husband. Sometimes nice. I'll do roles. Sometimes I'll do more like attributes, whatever's on my mind.
Got it.
Do that every morning, and then...
You're writing down 20 responses to each of those questions in your journal. That's awesome.
And then what gets me excited, and it's like, the park with Taft today, like that gets me excited. Yeah. Or like kissing Em when she's up, my wife's Emily, or whatever, right? Like hitting this goal at work or whatever it is. And then what are my opportunities? And that's more of like, cool, what can I do to like achieve goals? And again, those 3 are from Casey. I do those. I review my goals for the week, which I do on Sunday. So on Sunday, it's a little different. But I review my weekly goals, and then I look at my vision board, which is right there, printed out big next to me. So I see that every morning. And then, scriptures, and then I read a book. Right now, reading Soft Edge, and then it's usually like 6:45, 7, and I go make bottles and get the boys out of bed and change bums, and then go to the gym and then go into work.
I love it, dude. Okay, so from 5:30 to it's basically like almost hour and a half, 2 hour,
hour and a half
ritual that you're going through. So, how long have you been doing that approximately?
Since like February.
Okay, so how do you feel that's benefited you?
Yeah, I think it's elevated me as a human. It's for sure made me more intentional. I think one of the best compliments you can get is being a man or woman of adjustments. Hopefully I look back a year ago and think, man, like I have grown a lot. Yeah. And hopefully in a year from now, I can look back and be like, man, I have grown a lot. Like, look how much, and you look back like 3 years ago and you're like, dude, I have grown so much. Mm-hmm. I think that's like the goal of life. Like to me, and I have my mission statement, right? But like to me, the goal of this life, I draw on a whiteboard, I put, potential and performance. And to me, the goal is to close the gap. Like, between our performance, day in, day out, relationships, work, athletics, whatever it is, all the things, and our potential. And like, that's to me, like what I want to do in this life. What's exciting about that is it's like totally individual. Like your potential is not my potential. Yeah. We're very different. Everyone is. And the other thing I really like about that is it's never ending. Like I've never made it.
Right.
Like I can always do more, be more, give more, be more thoughtful, which is like exciting. But I mean, it's cliche to say, right? But like, hopefully you die, you get to the other side, you meet your potential, and you're like, oh, like, dap up. Like I'm not you, because I won't be, but like we're close.
Right.
What you don't want is the classic, like, you don't recognize them. And you're like, oh, fetch. I could have done that. Yeah. Like, I could have been that.
Be a big disappointment.
Yeah, no, that would be
that, dude.
Horrible.
That's incredible. So for me, like 5-6 years, so graduated from BYU, 5-6 years, I've always been very driven, but I've lacked structure.
Yeah.
And so it was always like different times of the day I was going to the gym or like waking up at different times and never really having like, okay, here's a schedule that I want to stick to. And when I quit my job in the spring and started this company, it kind of flipped the switch in me. We're like, okay, I am now where I want to be, but I feel like I can now control my destiny. I can now control my potential more than just a W-2 and a bonus. And so I've tried to implement similar things in my life. So I bought Grant Cardone's. I bought a 6-pack of the 10X journals with like, hey, you write your goals twice a day. When you wake up and when you go to bed, you write your goals and you're structuring your day. I'm not doing it as in depth as you, but that's a great. I mean, that's a great thing. Some things that I'd like to implement for sure. But what I've noticed is having structure. And over time, it creates habits, and it makes you feel more organized and just better about yourself. I think self-confidence builds over time you are able to do small things every day to try to progress. And,
totally agree.
And it's been great. I mean, the last probably 5-6 months since I've been doing that, writing goals every day and waking up more at a set time and going to the gym every day and just being more intentional about it. Yeah. It goes a long way in helping you to get closer to your potential
for sure
in the long term. So I love that, man.
Totally agree. And I would just say to that, right? Like a lot of people, like I used to hear that stuff, or a lot of people, if they hear that would be like, oh, like that would be really cool. Like the best time to start doing that was like 10 years ago. Like I wish I'd done that 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years, whatever. Sure. But like the second best time is like today. Like you can start, you can go do things, and it has to be intentional, right? Like in order to wake up at 5:30, like I need to be asleep by like 10:30.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. So you're in bed by 10:30.
Yeah, like 10. Yeah. My wife's like like Post Malone concert last night. Like it hit 10:15. She's yawning. Like we go to bed early.
Okay, that's good.
Which has worked for us. And in order to wake up 5:30, like I can't go to bed at 12. Yeah. Like that's not sustainable. No. So you have to be intentional, like you said.
Yep. I love it, man. Well, I'm curious in terms of money, right? So you've had a lot of success. I mean, making 160K your second or third summer at Greenix and doubling that, and then I'm sure you've been crushing it with grit. So how has kind of having money changed your mindset, or what role does money play in your life today? I mean, how do you view money?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I have 7 categories. I look at, and again, going back to Casey's planning, right? Like 2 to 3 rock goals in each. If you have a pretty otherwise wasteful week, as long as you do those like 2 to 3 things, like you can waste 80% of your week. And if you do those 2 to 3 things in each category, like you'll be pretty successful.
Yeah.
And have like a successful week. So my categories are, spiritual, family, personal development, health, grit, finance. So grit / career, finance, financial goals, and then most important, golf goals.
Golf, yeah, of course. You gotta have it on there.
Oh yeah, have to.
I love that.
In case he talks about it, like a lot of people lump like careers and finance into the same, where it's like we can all think of a lot of athletes, a lot of people that have made a ton of money, that have been horrible in finances. So they're not the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I kind of look at money just like another part of my life that I'm trying to maximize my potential in. I do this with my money, which is like, I get it, I give it. That's what I've always done. Like I invest everything.
Yeah.
And obviously like I have enough to live and then I cover, things, and like I get things that I want to. Recently in the last like year or two, I started like buying more things, but I really don't buy that much stuff. I just like, I'm young. I want to create an incredible life for me and those I love. And in order to do that, like I'm happy to like live a good life and make sacrifices now. We have a lot up in Highland, like something that's a big deal for my wife. And like for me, we'd love to have like our forever home.
Yeah.
And so like that's a goal. But to me, like I don't think a ton about like, to say I don't think a ton about money, probably like I'm a numbers guy. I have every dollar that I've ever spent. That's my mission. I track my bets. I track everything, right?
Good.
I have like a lifetime running, bet column. So I know exactly where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, money's a maximizer is what people say. And I think that's true, right? Like I like being able to, when a GoFundMe pops up, like be able to like donate what I want to donate and like not like that. I think that's like a good thing.
Yeah.
I like being able to like give people experiences. I took my mom to like Shania Twain in January, and that was like awesome. Yeah. It's like that costs money, but like
worth every penny, right?
Yeah. Like we're not like, I don't want to have just like bags. Like I look at, and I'll say my parents, right? Like my dad is, and even my in-laws, both, right? Like my dad is a really successful attorney. He has been. He's one of the best in Utah. He does real estate, and like he makes really good money, and he has everything paid off, and he's way conservative. And then he like saves and saves and saves. And I'm like, you're gonna get to the end of your life, and you're gonna have all this money.
Yeah.
And then you're like gonna give it to your kids, and it's like,
right.
Spend your money. Like go live life. Like I went to the Masters this year. I'm gonna go to the Masters every year the rest of my life.
How did you get tickets?
Well, I've my buddy Jackson Jr.
You gotta have it in.
Yeah, I love it. He knows somebody out there. But like the point to me is like money is meant to be spent. Like, and as we're young, right? Like we really should only be spending money on 2 things in my mind, like investing and experiences, and then like your needs. But like, so yeah, that's how I look at money. It's like, it's there for me to like have amazing experiences and give amazing experiences. And then like, my good friend from growing up, her husband passes, and it's like, okay, cool. Like I can help.
Yeah.
And like, I can be significant here because like we work hard or whatever, and we've been blessed and everything. So that's how I view money. Sorry. Long-winded question.
Dude, that's great.
Long-winded answer to a really short question.
No, I love it. And I ask that question to pretty much everyone who comes on the show. And I feel like the common theme is that money is a tool to amplify kind of your desires and charitable, actions, and trying to give back and create experiences, right? And I think money creates freedom and opportunity. Sure. And so everyone I've talked to has talked about kind of that abundance mentality, how money's an amplifier of who you already are. and a tool to help, better others, better your family, better yourself. And I don't hear a lot of just like, I just want to make as much money as possible. Yes, that would be great, but it really is more of a tool to kind of amplify who you are today.
Yeah, it goes back to why. Why do you want to make as much money as possible? Right. Which is like a great thing if you have like a great reason why.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. In terms of grit, I'm curious, just going back to the beginning stages, how did you guys get it off the ground? Was it just like you're building a 36,000 square foot office building. You must have needed some capital to get off the ground, hire people, pay people. Like, what was that? How did you guys do that?
Yeah, we're lucky. Our business we didn't need that much. Especially in the year one, I was looking at what do we spend in our sales program year over year. At Greenix, in our sales program, what we'd say now is like, 60 grand and 80 grand. And so when we started Grit, we all put 100 grand or 50 grand in.
Okay. Just your own money?
Yeah, just our own money. But that was just like to cover recruiting, like off-season expenses.
Okay.
I think that year was like 130 grand of like off-season. And then you quickly get into summer and then you're cash flow positive because money in, money out. We keep, we hopefully were earning that margin and, earning money, not taking money. But then, this next year, and so we've made good money and then roll it in, we've spent 130 year one. In 2022, in 2021, we spent like 600 grand. In 2022, we'll spend like 1.3 in the sales program.
Nice.
And then in 2022, we'll spend over $2 million like in the sales program.
Yeah.
So like we put money in, but very quickly got it back. And then like have since, we view it as an investment of like, cool. Like the Jazz partnership was 600 grand a year. But like we think that like we're gonna get way more bang for our buck than like $600,000. And so, anyways, that's how we started Grit.
So you guys haven't had to give up equity. It's all just kind of been bootstrapped. And as you go.
Just us. But we do profit distributions, and we have senior partners in our from our sales orgs.
Yeah.
That we've now brought in as equity partners, and
so these are like reps that have gotten equity in the business.
There's 6 of them right now.
Okay. How do you think about that? Because I've worked at companies, right? And the young, talented guys are always driven more by ownership and like the long-term vision of like, hey, if I'm going to be here for a long time, I kind of want to have some skin in the game.
For sure.
But when you're the guy who started the company, it can be a little bit difficult to just give everything away, right? So how do you balance that out? Like giving talented guys ownership versus giving away the farm I think it was 4 of you guys who started it initially?
Yeah, 4 of us.
So yeah, what's that like?
Yeah, for sure. It's a good question. It comes back to kind of what I said at first of like, cool, why do you want ownership? Mm-hmm. Like why, because I would rather make way more money short and long term and have an amazing life and experience and have 0% ownership as long as I'm having those. Now, if that means like, it goes back to the question of like, and in sales, we talk about this all the time when we're recruiting or this out of like, cool. Chase, if I asked you, would you rather have a better deal or would you rather make more money? Like the right answer is, I just want to make more money.
Sure.
Now, the deal matters only, it's part of the earnings pie, but it's not the earnings pie. And so many times people confuse the two of like, I think I want this, where it's like, no, you actually don't care about that. You only want that because you think it's going to give you this.
Sure.
But we view it, our business as we started it, but like we didn't build it. Like we built it with all these guys. And so we're happy to give them ownership, so they think and feel like they are owners. But every March, starting this year, we do profit distributions. So the more money that the company makes, the more we have to distribute. And we will distribute that amongst all our managers up. You have to do $1 million in rev, and that'll go out. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, you guys are doing it right. Because to keep people, at least the guys who are talented, right, long term, that's kind of how you have to do it. I've seen far too many times where there's a lot of the people at the top don't really want to relinquish like anything, and it causes the top tier guys to just, I'm just going to start my own company.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Grit Grit version 2, if you don't treat like your guys, with the way that they'd hope to be treated, there could be another competitor knocking at the door here pretty soon. So you guys are doing it right.
I have good partners who are like very abundant.
Yeah.
And like, look,
yep.
Like these guys,
it's the mentality
will be way more bought in and rightfully so. So no, we're excited about it all.
That's great. And jump around a little bit. So you mentioned, we're talking about money, you mentioned investing. So how are you, what are you investing in right now? Like, what does that look like? What's kind of your portfolio or allocation with excess cash you've got?
Yeah, it's a great question. I always want to have more than half my money in real estate. Mm-hmm. I just really like real estate. It's a real tangible asset that historically just appreciates. And then also everyone's biggest expenses is taxes.
Yep.
So I made great money last year, one of the biggest years I've ever had, whatever. And I think I paid negative $4,000 in taxes.
There you go.
Like I got it. I don't even know. I don't know how.
Your accountant works the magic.
Yeah. Shouts out to them. But no, that was, and it's really just because like I put so much money in real estate and, an oil deal where I could write it all off. And so I like deals that have tax advantage for sure, which is typically like real estate, oil, like stocks don't, crypto doesn't, unless you lose it all, which is not good. Lose $20,000 to save your $4,000 is probably like a bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I invest in real estate, and I'm again going back to trading specialization. Like I had a place, and then I bought a single family, but now I don't. I've sold that. I don't want to manage anything.
Yeah.
I think about it. I don't think about it in terms of doors. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I want to own this many doors. Mm-hmm. I've always thought about it I know I'm going to get at least 10%. And historically I've done way better, not because of me, but just because I don't even bet on horses. I don't even bet on jockeys. I bet on the people that are betting on the jockeys. Okay. It's like, cool, Casey's crushed it. He thinks this is a good deal. Like, take my money.
Yeah, sure.
Like Corbin Church, you've crushed it. Take my money. Like, if you think it's good, you're way smarter than me.
Yeah.
Like, take my money.
Yeah.
I've done a ton with Jason Harris, who does investing, and we've done 3 or 4 syndications. Me and him have an LLC separate that I gave him $130,000 back in like 2018. He gave it back to me like 4 months later. So that's now turned into, there's been some crazy deals. We had one this last year that was like 6 months, 400%.
Wow.
Just timing and luck, a lot of it.
Sure.
But again, like I don't do anything besides give him money. He calls me and like, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, do whatever you think.
Yeah.
Like,
that's good, man. You got trusted, people you
100%.
know their stuff and throw them some dough.
So I just think about it in terms of equity invested. Like that's my goal is like, how much do I want invested by 2023? Yeah. And I have a goal for that. And then that'll keep growing and hopefully compounding and hopefully, I've taken a ton of shots in VC. We're doing another today that I just got an email about. It's like, I'm young, I'm 28. I'm going to take tons of shots. Hopefully one of them hits.
Yeah.
And that'd be great, Yeah. But if it doesn't, like, we're going to keep taking shots.
Yeah, might as well. I think for sure a portion of your portfolio should be kind of a moonshot bucket, right?
Yeah. Small
portion of it, right?
Yeah. Like, 15% of my stuff is like VC. Another 15 is like PE.
Yeah.
Most is real estate. And then I have like some retirement stuff.
That's good, dude.
Just for having it sake.
Love it, man. Well, just a couple more questions, dude. So what's next for you guys? So with Grit, what do the next 3 to 5 years look like? What's the vision?
It's a great question, and something we talk about all the time. A rep came to me like a month ago and asked that, and my immediate response is like, we are headed for impact. The why of the Grit is impact. In 3 ways, we want to positively impact as many individuals and families as we can, both current and future. 2, we want to impact our core leadership, and that circle grows. And then 3, we want to become a household name and build like a company that's built to last. So that's like where we're headed. The specifics of it, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like we're marketing again this year. Like, do we marry a company? Do we like exactly like the specifics of it? I don't know what it looks like in 3 or 5 years. I think we'll keep growing every year, and everybody will keep making tons of money. Everybody will make tons of money this year. We'll distribute a lot. Like that's all great. And then we'll we'll keep betting on each other. And it's funny, even this morning I was with my partners, we were talking about the Jazz partnership, and some of us were for it, some of us were against it, but like we ended up doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just when you get with people you trust and you're all bought in on the same thing, which we all are,
mm-hmm.
like you're probably going to make mostly right decisions.
Yep.
And you only know that, like hindsight, like, oh yeah, like I'm glad we did this. But that, like, I'm grateful to have good partners who we can like bounce ideas off each other, and you get to the right thing. So next 3 to 5 years, we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep having impact. Exactly who are we going to be working with, this and that? I don't know. We have an idea, but like, we'll see. But we'll be doing this for 7 to 10 years. Like I should say, I'll be doing this. I'll be at the Grit for 5 to 10 years, probably, more like 7 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see.
Yeah.
Take
one step at a time. Well, it sounds like some awesome things on the horizon, man.
We're excited.
You guys are crushing it. What's one piece of advice you'd give to those who want to make the jump to entrepreneurship or start their own company?
Yeah, I've heard it in a ton of different podcasts. Casey said it the other day in a podcast I was listening to, like the best way to learn how to start a business is to start a business.
Yeah.
The best way to learn how to invest in real estate is to invest in real estate. And so like, I would say take your shots. It's what I talked about at the beginning. Like there's just not a ton of risk, especially if you become the asset. And that's what you said something earlier of like corporate finance, like very like risk, quote unquote, like risk-free job, doctor, orthodontist, whatever. Right. Like in my head, like I just like don't think about it that way. Like you can get fired from a corporate job.
Right.
Just as easy as like you can just get fired and then like, or like the economy, or you can just get laid off like and then all of a sudden like you're another guy. So like I look at it like I know how to sell door to door. I know how to sell. I can go sell something somewhere and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like I just can.
Yeah.
And I like, there's not a lot of, like if I go out, like there's just not a lot of, like I went out for a month in 2020. That was the last like time I sold, and I didn't do less than 10 a day. I averaged like 13 and a half, and not because of like anything other than like, I figured I know how to sell. I work way hard. So I know I'm going to go out and make great money every day. And so again, long answer to a short question. Like if you become the asset, like there's just not a lot of risk in what you do. Now, if you're banking on a company or this, yeah, there's more risk.
I love that. A lot to unpack there, dude. To your point, you could be making $100K at a salaried job, but the next day economy goes, down, or the company goes under, and you're from 100,000 to zero. And if you don't have a defined skill set, if you're kind of just punching numbers or whatever you're doing, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be harder. But to your point, if you can invest in yourself and develop a skill set where no matter what, you're controlling your own destiny. You can go sell, you can go, whatever you can do. That's how you de-risk it. It's actually probably more risky to go all in with a company who may or may not fire you one day or the other, or build yourself up. It's
counterintuitive, especially in society. Everyone's like, oh, sales, all commission, very high risk. And it is if you don't know how to do it. So yeah, if you've never done it, they're like, you might go out and you might suck. But if you go in with the right people, like there's a system, and if you work way hard, like you're probably going to do fine.
Yeah. I love it, man. Well, last question for you, John. What?
Thanks for having me.
Of course, dude. It's been so good. How do you define success? What does it look like to you?
Closing the gap. What I talked about earlier, again, and we're in Jimmy Rex's studio. And so he's the one that's really like inspired this. Like to me, if you can articulate goals, there's real power there, right? Like if I asked you, Jimmy says this all the time, if everything goes right in 2 years, what does it look like? If you can articulate that of like, cool, this is what it's going to look like, there's just tons of power. So he talks a ton, Clayton Christian talks a ton about like a mission statement, right? And so my mission statement for now, and maybe it changes, right, is, the purpose of my life is to close the gap between my potential and my performance as I become more like Jesus Christ, which I believe in, who I believe in, as I maximize my role as husband and father, like really important to me. And as I positively impact as many of God's children as possible. That's what success looks like to me. Like if I'm becoming a better human in my, like Jesus Christ, which even if you don't believe in Jesus, like if he existed, it seems like he was like a really nice, kind person, giving.
For sure.
Like that's like, I always say like, if you're not nice, I don't care what you are. So like if I'm becoming a nice person and I'm like a good father, present, and I'm like a really good husband, I try with my wife. And then like I like am giving and adding value, whatever that like looks like, that's like, oh yeah, like that's like success to me. If I look back in 50 years and I've like done those things, like I'm stoked. If I look back next year and I've done those things, like I'm stoked.
I love it, man.
And you know, people say it all the time, like if you want to make more money, add more value. Like if I'm doing those things, like the money's probably going to follow. The relationships are probably going to follow. Like if I'm being genuine and authentic and caring out about people, like all those things are probably going to follow. Like I'll probably get everything I want to get by like putting first things first. And like, I think when you're trying to come across a certain way, like if I'm trying to come across as confident, like I probably won't come across, like I probably won't appear. If I want you to think that I'm nice, like I probably won't come across as genuine. Where it's like, if you're just like focused on the right things, like you're probably going to get all the things that you actually want. Is how I think. I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Yeah, dude, I love it. There's no better way we could end it. I love that, man. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was awesome.
A lot of fun. Seriously, dude, inspirational stuff. You're crushing it. Absolute stud. And this has been awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's do it again.